and I'm part of the Sevier County Republican Women's Group. And I'm just going to have our other leaders introduce themselves. We'll start right here with Carol Lee.
I'm Carol Lee Johnson from Aurora.
And she's one of our officers. And then May and Gina, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
This is May Anderson.
So for those of you, we have some of our members here, but we also invited the general public, and we're excited to have all of you here. But our goal is to really just help people learn more and get involved in our community. And we want to provide a kind of new, we support the Republican Party platform, but we welcome anyone to come and listen and participate. And so we've had a lot of great speakers over the course of our time. I think we're in our 3rd year of the club, and there's a state federation, there's a national federation. We've chosen, just because of our schedules, and yours too probably, to have quarterly meetings. So this is our quarterly meeting, and we're so thrilled that the county commissioners, Sevier County commissioners, agreed to come and be our panelists today. So in preparation for the meeting, we sent out a message to all of our members and asked them to submit any questions that they might want to ask. So we've got about 11 questions, I think. We've given them to the commissioners, and so we'll have them come up here. Some of the questions will be more specialized for their area of responsibility and assignment. So we won't have each person answer every question. It can be kind of flexible. And then if we have time at the end and we have other questions from the audience, then I'm sure they'd be happy to field any questions there too. That's agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 2 is the Sevier County Archives and Heritage Services has just been established. And so now they have funding thanks to the commissioners. And I know from Snow College's standpoint too, we are excited to help keep track of these things and lend the services of our librarians where necessary and serve on the board. So we're really excited about this too. And they provided our treat tonight. So as soon as our panel discussion is over, we'll go in and see the new room that they're using. And then thanks to them for providing a treat for us as well. All right, we good? This is not like a timed answer debate or anything like that. This is just a panel discussion so that we can get to know our commissioners better. And as I said, I think we had 5 members submit questions tonight, so that's really awesome. Some of them are not here. It's hard for us to know when to meet. Usually we meet at lunchtime. We decided to try an evening event this time because people work. So if we have stragglers come in, that's great too. So commissioners, will you just join us up here?
Do you want us to move the chairs to the front? Or?
Yeah, that's
No, let's sit behind.
I think are more engaging in.
We can move forward.
Let's just move it forward. Let's do that. Let's just, it seems like we're a long ways away from.
We've got some rest.
We'll just briefly say we are glad to be here. My position on the commission is a chairman, so I'll just, on behalf of all 3 of us, this is a good opportunity for us to be here to answer questions. We're kind of excited about it, actually. I think this is going to be a good experience for us. You said you're going to ask us questions. We may turn around and ask some of those questions to you to get a little bit of feedback that way too. But go ahead then.
That sounds great. Well, first of all, maybe, I think probably everyone knows all of you, but maybe if not, if you could each just introduce yourselves and where you live.
Commissioner Ralph Brown, I live over in Central Valley.
Scott Johnson, and I live in Aurora.
Greg Jensen, and I live in Richfield.
So the 3 unofficial area representations, right?
Yep.
Gentleman's agreement.
Yep.
Gentleman's agreement. All right. So the first question we have is, what is the status on the bike trail between Richfield and Salina?
I'm going to grab, Greg brought this down, and I'll just stick it in the front here. So what we did as a commission, we were able to acquire some funding that helped us hire an engineer firm, Avenues Engineering, took a look at our county, the existing bike paths that we have, and then how we need to go about connecting our communities and the different places we need to look at connecting. So in this process, they had some public hearings. They involved the communities. We had, you could go on the website and answer a survey, and then get people's comments from the communities and from the county. But at the end of this is the map that was created, and it shows 15 different segments that they thought would need to be built to connect the county from north to south. There's already bike paths that have been, established, and so these are the bike paths that would then be used to connect the different communities. I think it was a good process. I think in the comments that we received, we received some very interesting comments from different parts of the county, and involving what they thought might be a need that they might have, and what they felt like would be good. We maybe just really quickly, I'll let the other two commissioners just fill in what I've missed, but the very first one on the list there is the Aurora to Salina bike path. We've went to the Joint Highways Committee of the UDOT and acquired some funding to get that path started. The funding doesn't become available until 2026. So in 2025, we can actually start engineering. So that's one of the bike paths we'll probably do first. We've looked at that one, and maybe another bike path that we can acquire funding for that might be at the same time frame. But we're excited about the bike paths. I think they're part of our communities, and we enjoy them. Commissioners, what have I missed there?
Well, the governor's goal is to connect every community through the state, so you can ride on a bike path across the state. So we're doing our part. We've planned that way. Just recently, we've completed one from Annabelle to the Sevier River Bridge, and the reason that got a little priority is they was redoing the entire road there, and so while they were in the construction portion, it was easy for them to connect and put on the shoulder of the road that path. This coming year, why there'll be another segment from the River Bridge down to Central, which will tie into the one that goes to the church, the one that goes over through Annabelle, and the one to Joseph down to Marysville. So
Just trying to the connectivity of all the communities. So you have kind of Monroe sitting without connectivity, Glenwood, Venice, that side is without connectivity. The connectivity from Central to Richfield, is kind of an important one. They're trying to figure out which path would be best there. And then ultimately Salina to Richfield in that one. So, it would be really awesome to be able to hop on a bike in Redmond and end up at Big Rock Candy Mountain.
So we're seeking funding, and there's quite a bit of funding that comes through the state in this in their effort to get this established. So we're looking to acquire that funding for these trails.
so it's the state road.
It seems expensive.
Excuse me?
It seems expensive when I'm looking at the numbers here, but it's great that there could be grant money to help.
And that's what we think that makes sense. If we build bike paths, if we can get as much grant money as possible, that's where we can build the bike paths the best.
What I think is wonderful is, even if you don't have it all completed, at least you have the plan to know how they'll connect and
Yep.
what you'll do and self-planning into the
Yeah.
future that we all enjoy.
And this represents a lot of options. Everything on here will not be built because there's more than one way to get to a community. So this is an option.
And so what we really do is when we go to start looking at a particular path, we'll involve the town city council in that discussion, and they may have some ideas on how that needs to be effective in their different communities. So we try to involve the communities. So
Thank you.
So what's the maintenance like in the future?
maintenance,
Yeah, is there a plan for that?
that's a good question. The state has recognized that maintenance is a big deal, and so some of this is
Some
going
of
to
them
be
are covered by the state.
the state's going to be able to cover. Bobby and his road department has been maintaining the trails up till now, but as we build new ones, the state,
Yeah, with the funding that they're bringing, that's part of the plan and management strategy for them to maintain.
Outdoor rec tourism has
Yep.
some monies that we've been applying for,
Yep.
for maintenance.
All right, thank you.
Can I just ask, did they
Please.
take into consideration like the views or anything like that, or is it just straight shot from A to B and the cheapest route?
The views were what was really incredible in trying to decide these. They were looking at, okay, like which would be the best, so someone, because we not only have bikes, you get a family with some strollers or, that kind of thing, of a Sunday evening walk, kind of thing. So no, that Deborah, that's a big part of it. It's not just a straight shot, it's the aesthetics of it also.
Because I know several years ago, there was me and Russell Mason and several of us met with the commissioners. And originally, when they did the bike path from Big Rock Candy Mountain down, that was supposed to go all the way to Redmond initially. And that's why when we met with you guys, we decided that if we started over in Redmond on that end, that we might get it through Aurora and we might get it to hook on to Richville. So that's why we did the Redmond one. And then when they come back, and I know that they met with our mayor and some of ours, they just wanted to take it across the old, we call it the honky tonk
Right,
road.
honky tonk.
And I don't know if that's still the plan to come through Aurora that way or not.
It's one of the options.
Yeah.
And they've also looked at maybe hitting the canal for the more aesthetic there as you
Yeah.
get there. I'm trying to think of the family's home that has the big hay shed right there,
Mhm,
right by the old honky tonk.
mhm.
yeah,
Right
the
there at that
Dahlstritz.
corner.
Yeah,
Yeah, right there.
okay.
And so that, it's looked at both ways.
Because we thought, well, if you go that way, as far as scenic, that's not a scenic route. But maybe if you added something along the way, like, how they have these old posts and stuff that are carved into bears or
Right.
carved into like an eagle on it, or if you could put some big rock out there that has some kind of carved in design, at least you'd have some points along the way that people would think, oh, we're just about to the eagle.
Right.
Or we're just about to that big old rock, something like that, that could be more scenic or have a waypoint, if you want to call it that way. Anyway, so,
From Salina to Redmond, if you're driving on the highway,
Mhm.
you're looking out where that trail is and you're thinking, well, there's nothing out there. But I've walked down road that trail and it's through the fields, but it's lovely.
yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
Yes.
in the morning, it's.
yes.
There's geese, ducks
Yeah,
out there.
I mean, I would have never thought that would have been a pretty trail, but,
Sunflowers.
yeah, but it's just very peaceful and
It's
nice.
different when you're down and going
Yeah.
slowly than in a car.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all the good things.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, oh, geez, they put it up there, but I walked it every morning this summer and it's lovely.
And I think that trail has been amazing how many people have used that trail, but
Oh,
maybe,
there's
come back to
lots of
your
them.
original thought there, Deborah, in order to get funding, we had to have some kind of a plan in place. So we did put a route together to go to the Joint Highways Committee to then make a presentation and ask for funding for that trail. Now, and we were awarded the money. So we understand that trail can be modified. We're hoping that's the case, and Rick Torgerson and his firm thought the same thing you did. We need to jazz that up a little bit, and we're trying now to look at going along the Rocky Ford Canal to the Dahlstritz property, and then we still got to go down a ways, and then we're going to have to maybe go through over to 4th North in Salina. We'll have to cross Salina Creek there, and then it would come up to the
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But was
My house,
it's
take them to my house and I can just hop on and go.
But
It's your house is the byway.
Yeah.
We talked about
You
going
go through my
below
backyard.
Robinson's.
yes. That I think that's where we're going to try to do that.
So they could hook onto the Redmond route. there.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at least, so you don't get up into all that hubbub by UPS
Yeah,
and Robinson. Transport and
We're
all
gonna
that.
try to
Avoid
go
all that.
way below that.
Yeah.
You know-
Because that could be a disaster, especially for kids on bikes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got to cross Highway 50 in a safe manner.
Yeah.
We're working on maybe making it.
An underpass.
We're going to shoot for that
Yeah.
and make that work. But when the Redmond bike path was originally designed, we were going to go right down the road, and then Rick Torgerson says, "You got to find a better way." So we almost had it down the river, and came up, but it was just environmentally undoable. So we had to adjust, and that's where the bike path is now. It seemed like it's pretty well received, and
Oh, yeah.
it kind of connects into the high school. Yeah.
Yeah. We go out through Lost Creek and down past JJ's and the turkey plant and then go over past Fort North and hook on to the Redmond Trail. We'll take that over there and back and we'll do like 25 miles if we go out through Lost Creek and around and hook on to that.
Yeah.
And that's a good route for us, but you know, we could easily go this other route too. I worry about that Highway 50 and there by Robinson's and everything,
Yes.
especially with kids.
We-
So where the kids like to ride their bikes, I know it's only once a year, but
Yeah.
They'd do it more often once
they would.
Once they get,
would.
well, in fact, somebody told me the other day, and this was early in the school year, that they saw from Redmond going to school, they had like 4 kids riding their scooters to school to
Well, it's not
Redmond.
even 4 miles.
It-
I mean, it's not very far.
Yes, three a little
The
bit. Yeah.
kids drops them off right out of school.
Yeah.
And it's
It
not,
really is perfect.
it's not uphill both ways anymore.
It depends on the day.
I mean, we'll be glad to get the bike paths, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
we'll be glad to get them, but.
But I think your point is, let's make them in as scenic a route as possible. And I think we agree with that, yeah.
And safe.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you,
it.
commissioners, for your response on that one. That's an exciting one for all of us. Here's another one that came in. Who are you voting for? Who are you supporting for Utah's governor this election and why? And if each of you want to take that, you can.
I'll be glad to start. I'm going to vote for Governor Cox first and foremost because he's our Republican nominee. That's the matter of fact he is. Secondly, I would say I'm doing it because I don't want a Democrat as our governor right now. That would be so detrimental to our coal industry, so detrimental to our public lands industry, so detrimental to so many things that affect our county in particular, in that we're 67% public lands. And if our coal went the wayside, we would be in big trouble. It's not only just the 300 or 400 miners, but then you end up with like maybe 2,000 different jobs that are directly related to those. When Representative Lyman stood next to Brian King and did a commercial, one of the things that they said was either one of us would be better than Governor Cox, and I wholly disagree with that. There's no way either one of those right now would be better. Governor Cox will represent our state. He will represent our state nationally, and he'll represent our state internationally very, very well. And so I would be absolutely, there's no other person that I would support other than Governor Cox in this election as a Republican.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm voting for Governor Cox. He's our best, in my mind, I think for the future of Utah, I think he's the best person, and I'm supporting him. I think Greg's outlined some of the reasons why, and he's a Republican candidate. And I feel very comfortable in voting for Governor Cox.
I very overwhelmingly support Governor Cox. I knew him and worked with him at the very beginning of my term as commissioner on the Intergenerational Poverty Committee. Governor Herbert assigned him to set that up. And so I've worked with him through all of that. I've worked with him on our MCOT teams. That's a mobile team that responds to medical or mental crisis situations. And that has reduced our people having to be hospitalized. That team sends out with counselors and psychiatrists that can work with the people. We have several mobile units within the 6-county area. That's been huge. He's funded those. He's also working with us real closely on trying to get a receiving center, which is a mental health situation. As of right now, Sevier County's ER has become the receiving center, not just for Sevier County, but for Paiute and Wayne. Our calls have changed from, in the year 17, there was 26 transports. This past year, there's over 220 transports. And that ties up officers, ambulances, personnel to take them to the Wasatch Front. So as I visited with the governor on this matter, I said, I understand the Wasatch Front, the need you have there and all the people. But when they have somebody there, it's a 5-minute trip to the receiving center. Here, it's half a day. Time you do the paperwork, most of the day. And he realized that, and so he's working with us real closely. We've identified some areas in the Gunnison area where they could be tied to the hospital because you have to have a nurse staff available and on board, and we're working those situations out. The governor almost had it funded this past year, but he promises me he'll try to get it in this budget and make it happen this time. So, and also the large, you've heard a lot about the federal lands lawsuit that the governor's backing and pushing. I visited with him on that, and we've been involved with grazing issues and it's road closures, big time. Scott just attended a meeting down on the Henry Mountain. They're trying to do the same thing there, close down a whole bunch of roads that are critically needed for all the livestock grazing, minerals, logging, everything. Same with that on the San Rafael Swell. There was 15 roads they're trying to close. So we're trying to fight that. The governor's trying to get that handled. I don't know if any of you heard, but I had the governor on the radio with me last Monday, and we discussed a lot of these issues. So I wholeheartedly support the man, think the world of him, and he is good for rural Utah.
All right, thank you. Okay, this next question is kind of long, so, and I'm sometimes not very loud. Maybe I'll stand up here in a second and do it. Increased taxes seem to be the answer for all budget shortfalls and to generate revenue for government expenditures. While many families and small businesses are feeling the pinch of higher costs and inflation and bear the cost of those increased taxes, most are having to eliminate things out of their own budgets and make hard decisions to make ends meet. What is your plan to evaluate programs and services on a regular basis to determine if those programs and services should continue, be adjusted, or eliminated altogether? So your program review process.
I'll start. Right now, we are just gonna get started. I think the 24th and 25th, we'll start our budget hearings at the county. And it'll be my second budget hearing. This is my second year, but the budget that in 2023 was passed by the prior commission. And so this is just the second budget hearing that I've gone through, which is kind of fun. They're intimidating. You meet with each department and go through them, and you just try to understand the needs, the desires of what they need to do. Sometimes you're competing with state programs, meaning that the state has a program and now our county, employees, they see that. Are we able to fund them, to take care of them? In the last 3 or 4 years, there was a lot of COVID monies that were spent on different things throughout the county, and those are gone. And so this will be I think it'll be the first year that there will be no COVID monies or excess monies of those that that we have available. So I think this year will be a year where there's going to be some tightening of the strings and looking at different things. And so when you look at things, you look at what's necessary for our county. You also need to go to the county and say, what do you want? And what are the desires you have? Are there things that you're willing to not have because of a tighter budget? And so all of those things come into play when you're looking at budgets and budget hearing, and those are just starting again right now. And we'll go through that process and improve those over the next couple months.
And maybe Ralph and I can each add just a little bit. I think Greg's outlined it really well. This is the process we're going to start in October, is looking at all the budgets for each department in our county. And I would say that each department head that comes in has to defend his budget. And so we get to hear their analysis of how the year went and what they've done. But I guess the question really is centered on how that affects a home and an individual. And I think we're really aware of that. That's where everybody feels it. If we have good, thriving businesses in our community, that lifts the burden off of a lot of our homeowners. If they pay a big portion of the tax, the tax that we use, the tax rates that we use in the county is the same year in and year out. We don't spend any more each year. We just take that money and appropriate it through our county. So like Greg said, it's what services should we eliminate? I have people calling me up in the middle of summer saying, why hasn't the mosquito sprayer been past my home? I've been watching for him. And so there are some of those things that our county people want. And so we look at trying to provide the services that they're telling us they need. So I think that's part of it. So you can add to that, I guess.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So I've been involved for 8 years and we've never raised taxes. Is that a truthful statement? The commissioners have never raised taxes. So it's all the money, the general fund, it's a complicated affair. The general fund is in one silo. The road department's funded separately through the B road funds. There's all these different silos that stay in there. Speaking of the general fund, we have to come to the same exact dollar that we had last year. So to do that, Steve Wall calculates that tax rate to achieve that same level. So we're not raising taxes. What's causing your taxes to go up are your values. People coming into the valley and paying a lot more than the home appraises for drives the values up, and just inflation drives the values up. We don't control that. We have zero control over that. So that's what's causing your taxes to go up. So I won't take any credit for your taxes going up. I still think we have a couple of $100,000 in COVID money that we've ear tagged, but we haven't spent. So we'll be spending that this year, which will help on a lot of projects. Let me say something about all of our departments. Without exception, I think every department turns money back. It helps us keep our balanced budget. We are so appreciative of how they run their departments and everything, and good employees. They're careful. We're careful with your taxpayer dollars. And we could cut taxes by cutting services. That'd be the only way that I could see possible being involved. So.
All right, thank you. Here's another fun one. Who are you supporting in the presidential election this year and why?
As I read these questions and I was thinking of them today, I was up in Provo and coming back, and I got thinking, there's not many opportunities you get to vote for a person for president more than 2 times. This year will be the opportunity I get to vote for Trump for my 3rd time. And that's really not something that'll happen. And so I'm supporting President Trump, and it'll be my 3rd vote for President Trump.
I'm voting for President Trump, and I'll be very glad when the presidential election is over. So, but it's very clear to me how, President Trump would, well, just an example, the coal mine needed to get a lease acquired in the Green Hollows part of their coal mine. They tried for I don't know how many years to get that lease approved under a Democratic administration, and they never got it approved until President Trump was elected president in 2016 or whatever that was. And then all of a sudden the way was opened up, that Green Hollows lease was acquired. That has added lots of life to our coal mine. Those kind of things are important to our country and to our communities here. So.
President Trump listens to our delegation from Utah really well, and he's really helped us out on the Bears Ears, the Grand Staircase, logging, grazing, things like that really matter to Sevier County. He supports, and so that's why I'm supporting President Trump.
Thank you.
Is there anything we can do to help these other swing states so that we can help them think the same way?
Pray.
Yeah, really hard.
So I can answer some of that. There are organized efforts to take buses of people to some of these states that are close to us, where you can go door to door, you can go and help. We've heard about that through the state.
National Women's.
Yeah,
I've got some emails on some of those.
So if anyone's interested in doing that, our state president was just telling us that she's done that a few times, and it's been a really interesting process.
Good.
We also, in the summertime, bring out a delegation. We pay for their flight, their housing, their buses, and we bring them on a tour. And they take a different route every year and show them all about southern Utah, what makes us tick, why it's so important. And it's trying to open their eyes on all the federal lands, what the purpose of it really is, and not to lock them up. And it's been very successful. I wish we could get the senators and everybody, we get their aides, their younger aides, but they go home and tell about it. But I wish we could get the right people here so they could really see.
I think you point about, that's a valuable point you're making is these swing states. I'm thinking back in 2006 when George W. Bush was running against Al Gore. You know, Florida was the state where he actually was able to win the presidency, and he won it by 506 votes in Florida, where we had had Al Gore as our president. So the key is people have got to get out and vote.
And even if we could get the ones close to us, Nevada and Arizona.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Arizona
Arizona, Nevada would be
would be
great.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you listened to that Zoom meeting the other night. Of course I did. But
Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I did.
We listened to it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. They should do more of those types
They
of
probably-
things in some of these other
Yeah.
states.
Yeah.
And get that word out,
Yeah.
you know. I sent it to my son that's in Arizona, and I sent it to several other people.
Yes.
But we need to get that type of word out to some of these other states, and
Yeah.
then they titled it that same thing,
Yeah.
but I think we could get a lot more of our supporters in those other states pulling for us more if we had something like that in these other states too, or get that word out to them.
Carolee and I have a grandson serving a mission in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and that's Pittsburgh, yeah, Pittsburgh.
Close enough.
Yeah, whatever. You know, it's back there somewhere. But he says that,
Denver.
yeah, yeah, he's just- but he says that you know he's seeing that as he's back there serving a mission, the political, you know, they're really going back and forth back there. So it's
Well, and even Colorado, I just can't believe how much difference there is for the people in Colorado as close as they are to us. But that's one thing that I've been upset about with our governor is how he'll bring some of those illegal immigrants in from Colorado to our state. And I haven't liked some of that he's done. There's some things that he's done that's kind of been okay, but there's some things he's done that I haven't agreed with, that I don't like that he's done.
Okay.
I don't like when he start some of these smart cities. I think that's kind of a control on people when you've got surveillance and monitoring of people in cities. And I don't like some of that stuff that he's done. You know, I don't like some of the things he's talked about to schools and kids and his pronouns and different things like that. I haven't liked some of those things. But, you know, that's his thing that he's doing and I would have never done. But we just need to get these states around us to think more so we can get Trump in there. There's a lot of things that Trump said and done that I don't like that type of a lifestyle, but he's the one that when he says he's going to do something, he gets it done. We've got countries around the world that respect him because they know they're not going to get away with their crap because he doesn't let them get away with it.
he does.
And Kamala Harris, if she gets in there, they're going to walk all over the United States. And we know that. I can't believe there's people dumb enough out there to think that they'll vote for her.
Well, this is actually a great segue into the next question, which is, how do you maintain relationships with people who don't agree with you?
Greg or Ralph? Go
Well,
ahead.
I have, this year I can hardly hear out of because of all the skill saws. And this year I hear good out of, so I just turn this ear. No, we need to try to work with everybody, and most of the time, as we explain our position and reasoning, we can usually come to somewhere in the middle.
I'll just add, you know, we had an individual come into our work session who had an issue with the road and development, and you know, he was a little bit aggressive, let's put it, and you know, but you know, so we didn't agree on things, but at the end of our discussion, I think we understood where he was at, and we understood what we might could do to help. And I think that's what you have to do. I mean, we're all trying to make the best decision possible. Sometimes with most people, we'll agree. And if they know what we're thinking and we know what they're thinking, that's probably where we can come to the middle. That's better. You might do that.
Yeah, it's interesting when I read that question, I had a couple thoughts come to my mind as far as who and what and different relationships. As you think of, you were talking about Governor Cox and some of the questions or issues that you have, I have some of those same things. And then I don't, some of you may know this or not, but Phil Lyman and I have been a personal friend with him for 41 years. I've known him since the very beginning of 1984, and I had a daughter get hurt in Blanding playing basketball, and his sweet wife was the first one to the hospital. I mean, it's not just an ancillary relationship. I truly love and appreciate Phil as a friend. But when we look at, all the big picture, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but he is still my friend, and I'm still his friend. When Phil came to Sevier County, he came to the Sevier Fairgrounds and talked one time, and I was there to support him. He came to the Rotary or the Ridgefield Park, and I was there. But on the other side, I just really feel that we can have those differences. There's people in our community when they know that I was supporting Cox, they were not happy with me, and I got in my truck, called them, and I didn't know exactly where their house was, drove to their house, spent an hour and a half with them, and visited with them, and so that I can look them in the face. I do not do Facebook fights or any of that. I refuse to. If somebody has a question with Greg, they can call and come, and I'll be glad to talk with them. But I think that's how you do it. You meet them face to face, talk to them. And yes, there are differences. I have differences with my 9 siblings, but we all love each other, and you're the best of friends, and you just move forward. And that's how those relationships are maintained and held.
That's
I'll
good.
just give you, remember the President Reagan quote, the person who agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor.
Stacy, could I add one thought? I feel like the commission is really the face of Sevier County in a lot of ways, and I know they don't always get along, and I appreciate when we can all just put everything aside and work together for the greater good, because we have 3 people here that have ran against each other continually. Ed has run for county commission. I know Tudor wanted to be here tonight. He was our county commissioner, and I'm filled with pride to have them represent me.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, our next question is, what industries or business categories would you like to see come to Sevier County?
In the newspaper today, there was a little article. I'll just read. According to them, they did a study on the job growth in Sevier County, and in the next decade, they expected jobs growth to increase by 33.6%, which is slightly above the national average. And they cited that the biggest employers in Sevier County are these following. There's the Sufco Mine, Snow College, the Utah Department of Transportation, Sevier Valley Hospital, and Walmart. Those are very community-friendly businesses, I think. They're probably different in a way, but I think in a lot of ways we looked for businesses that would come to Sevier County that would help our county grow in a reasonable manner, employ our people, take our graduates that are graduating from Snow College, give them a job, let them establish a family, buy a home, and live here in Sevier County. Those kind of jobs and those kind of businesses.
Do you know what happened to the bicycle parts building that's over there?
Let's see, the partners in that business had a separation, and that divided their business focus, and so they no longer needed that building to build I think they redirected what they were going to do as a business, and then so they didn't end up building the composite part of their business there. So But it was kind of an internal, if I understood that
Yeah.
right, kind of an internal change in their business. So got a wonderful building there.
Oh, I know, we drive past and think, good heavens, we could have a party.
I heard Harbor Freight's coming.
Yes,
And you know the one in Salina is Loa Builders.
yes, yes. Right.
Another one that I thought of when Gurney Trucking shut down out there, and I think they've since went somewhere else, but I thought that would have been an ideal spot out there for an Amazon distribution center, because it's so close to I-15, I-70, every which way. Not that it would be anywhere for people to go shop, but it would have hired people for distribution, because UPS is right there, FedEx is right there. You know, just, it would have been an ideal spot. If anybody has any control or say in anything like that, it would just have been a good spot for a distribution center of some kind. I know at one time when they wanted to put a Walmart distribution center in here, I know at the time Keith Barrett was upset because he thought that it was going to interfere with his business. And so that's when they took it to Cedar City. It really didn't have anything to do with people shopping there. And an Amazon distribution center wouldn't have anything to do with people shopping there. It's a distribution center. But that kind of place would employ a lot of people and bring a lot of people into the area if you get some kind of distribution center in.
Right.
And that would be the ideal spot, really.
I'll just kind of hit on this one too, is I think just the natural expansion of our current businesses is something you always need to rely on and continue to deal with. Like, there's 1,400 plus business licenses in Sevier County. And I mean, you get one or two on any of those, that's just a great growth. The one great thing that's happened in the last 18 months was Rocky Mountain Power, for the industrial park in Salina. They wanted to charge just over north of $10 million to bring the power volume that we needed to bring businesses. And as I drove back and forth today in Provo, right there before you get to Nephi on your right-hand side, there's the Jensen Refrigeration Building. That was going to come, but they said when they wanted to come to the industrial park in Salina, it would take 3 years, and it would cost Salina or Sevier County $10 million to bring the power in. And so they're like, well, we're not going to wait that long, and the county in Salina wasn't willing to pay $10 million. So last year, Ralph Scott and I, Carl Albrecht, Jed Maxwell, 2 or 3 others, we went to Rocky Mountain Power. I think it was in April and May, and to have Carl Albrecht at the table with that was absolutely incredible. And within literally an hour, I want to say, it went from, okay, in 11 months of turnaround time, if you have a business that wants to settle in Salina in the industrial park, you will have the power that is needed. And it's not going to cost you any. Rocky Mountain Power is going to do it. So that's incredible. And then just 2 weeks ago, that industrial park is now a subsidiary or part of the inland port system for the state of Utah, which is incredible asset, which will bring all those things that you just mentioned, to have those businesses and those opportunities to come as industry. That's a great place for those types of things to land. But if we maintain and continue our growth of our current businesses, is a wonderful, wonderful thing to kind of keep going along. And you mentioned Amazon. My backyard is having an Amazon building there in the industrial park of Richfield. The pad is being built right now. I hear them at 6:30 every morning working over there.
It's a sorting center, right?
Yep.
So Greg brought up an ordeal that Amazon was one thing I ran on when I ran for county commissioner. But one of the questions, if Amazon was trying to come in, obviously they are. What other jobs do you guys have that you guys know that's been trying to come in here? Harbor Freight's coming in. I'm assuming out there in the Kmart industrial area strip out that way. What other jobs do you guys know that's wanting to come here? Like that building composites that sits there and it's wasted right now. There is business in Ephraim that I've talked to when I was running for county commissioner that was wanting to come to Richfield because it's a lot closer to the freeway and I-15. And he said, let me know if I got on to go talk to him, because he was looking to move someplace that's a lot bigger than what working at right now.
So one thing we do have coming in, we're in the process right now, everything's finalized, they have their permits, is a battery storage facility that's gonna be out by the substation. And that what it is to solar panels with tied into the solar farm. It'll collect power and then give it off at peak times. And it's gonna be huge and it's gonna bring a lot of revenues to the county. We generated $1 million for Snow College housing in Richfield with the solar panels. We're anticipating collecting more to help Snow College with that project as well. One thing you have to realize, with the exception of that battery storage and the solar, we do what we can as a county, but 90% of economic development happens within city limits. Every city has their own plan, right? Some don't want any, some want everything they can get, some go out after it. And you can just see that by where the growth is in businesses and industrial stuff. So our role as county commissioners is to support every city the very best we can. And that's our goal. But the biggest challenge we have in Sevier County of businesses, anybody have any guesses?
Workforce.
I like that.
Employees. Dogberry out there south of town, they've totally outsourced everything. They have not anything going on out there because they can do it cheaper other places and better, but the workforce was their biggest challenge. Any large employee you can talk to, the coal mine, talk to them about needed employees. Everywhere is just, and that falls into the housing crunch. There's no place for them to live, but it's got to be a connected fix, and we're working on some programs to try to start that ball rolling to get affordable housing. I worked with the governor's office on House Bill 572, which gives first-time home builders a $20,000 grant, and that passed. They invited me up to testify on that. I was unable to make it to their time frame, so we tried to do it on Zoom, and the link dropped right when it was my turn to testify, so I didn't have to testify. But anyway, it's a challenge. We worked with Smith Meats for 4 years. They bought property. We just rolled out the red carpet, and they decided not to come here. And they kind of separated through their different family members and bought South San Pete and over to Fillmore and kind of went smaller. We did help Henry Barlow. Again, that was a Ridgefield City thing. We put in $60,000 to help with their sewer line to run all their water to the sewer plant because we own property adjoining their property to the south. We usually don't get a lot of financial involved with cities. We've tried to keep that separate. But we did work with Henry. He's struggling. He's running into some roadblocks. Some of his equipment didn't show up, and he's had trouble with his waste. You've probably seen that in the paper stuff. But the landfill's working with him. He has over 30 employees out there. But the biggest employer in Sevier County is agriculture. And that was the number one thing that they said would help agriculture out was processing. The smaller plants we have here, sometimes it's what, 3 or 4 months?
That has really swung from a year to, because the demand for local processing was high.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's one thing we've worked on. But yeah, we're all over it. We're very supportive of it, but we're trying to play second fiddle with the cities and support them.
Let me just add 2 quick things. And what Greg said I think is really right. And what Ralph said about Sufco is huge. We're trying to get these other businesses that are here, let them grow. Sufco right now would take a lot more employees. They're looking for them. And then President McKiff made a presentation to the commissioners here this week, talked about the growth that's happening in Snow College. I think as Snow grows, that'll provide additional employment in our area. So
A lot of workforce.
a lot of workforce.
Kids that can work.
Yeah, they're not only going to employ people, they're going to educate people that can then go into the workforce.
So Greg's on the Economic Development Board, and we did it when I was on there, but they have grant money for businesses, to existing businesses to help. During COVID, if you could document that COVID caused you a loss, that qualified you for COVID money, and we gave out a lot of COVID money to businesses. So we are very supportive of doing everything we do, but we've got to be careful of what we bring in for our water and economic, or not economic, but environmental. We have to be kind of careful what we bring in.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna skip the next question because the question was, what's the biggest deterrent for businesses to expand? But I think you talked about that one. All right, do you support SUA? I think that's the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. You better be careful what you say on this one. Do you support them? And do you think the rights of everyone should be taken into consideration to enjoy our public lands in a responsible manner? I have a feeling we're all gonna come to a consensus on this one.
This would be an easy question to answer. Go ahead.
Go ahead and answer it for us.
Yeah, Southern Utah Wilderness, well, your question, whoever wrote the question, I thought it was interesting. It was almost like, as if we don't support Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, we were trying to deter public use. And that's what they want to portray. The exact opposite is portrayed. What they want to do is to deter public use of our lands. Absolutely, wholeheartedly, no question. That's what they're trying to do, is to take our public land uses away from us. So no, I do not support Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance because I want public lands and I want to use them. And they're trying to do the flip-flop of 180 of that's what they're trying to protect, but the reality is, no, they're trying to take them away from us.
I have a question, because that's what I wondered. They have a lot of money and they have a lot of attorneys, and they are trying to take our public lands away from us.
Exactly.
And I mean, they're trying to take them away from hikers and photographers and people on ATVs and yes.
Hunters and just
yes.
the whole
And
thing.
even grazers, you know,
Yep,
people
yep,
that, and
yep.
I just think, how did they get there? How did they get so they think they have so much power?
Just a bureaucracy from
Do they get it from
the
federal
political
government? Yeah.
climate that they were hired under a non-Republican president.
So how do we
the whole
fight
thing.
that? I mean, how do we?
Well,
how
part
do
of the
we-
fight, Scott brought up the fight just now with the lawsuit that the governor filed. It took about 20 years of trying to file this lawsuit to have us in charge of our public lands. Instead of someone sitting in DC that doesn't have a clue what's going on here, that Utah would be in charge. They're not going to sell the public lands, but would be in charge of our public lands, be able to do with our public lands as we see fit for our state of Utah, for our residents of Utah. That's how we're starting to, that's one of the big reasons we'll fight, or how we're fighting it. And a change in the president would also flip-flop that greatly.
I mean, I see there's a lot of people that like have ATVs, because we see it, because we have them, that, you know, get out there and just roar and rip around, and people that leave garbage and stuff all over. And yes, those kind of people should be held responsible for doing things that aren't good for it. But in the same sense, everybody should be punished for, you know, those kind of people doing stupid things.
Right.
But yeah, we need to fight against this SUA and not let them get away with all that for sure.
Gina, did you have a question or comment? Let me just add to what Greg said. You know, we will never be able to outspend them, but our message is better than their message because we are telling it from our family's perspective. And I think as long as we can tell that message and present that message, our message carries a lot more weight than these very expensive attorneys that come down and file these lawsuits with the Forest Service and trying to stop that. We will never stop fighting SUA and all the other Wilderness Alliance and environmental groups are out there because it's part of our heritage, it's part of our culture.
And all this public land that they think that they own, that they think that they can control and tell us what we can do, and it's our land.
Yeah, we're all in. We're all in. It's a battle. Even if we're outspent, we have a better message.
Well,
Yeah.
They've done to that place out there, took and got rid of all the recreation stuff out
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nobody cares about it more than we do.
And that's it.
About it.
Exactly
Just
right.
Case in point, a few years ago, we've been sued, the Forest Service was sued for overgrazing the Monroe grazing allotment. Environmentalist driven, which hurts all of our grazers. We locked horns with them. We hired an independent guy that was a fit professional on evaluating ranges. He spent a lot of time on the mountain and did a lot of documentation. To fund that, did you go with us on that?
Yeah, we went to.
Scott and I and Tudor went up to the legislator and Senator Hinkins, we got $400,000 to help fight that. And show you how ridiculous they are, the comments that come in. One thing that resulted from that is they had to fence off the tallest, greenest grass on the mountain around Manning Meadow to keep the cows out because there's a toad that lives there. And then the next thing they said is, you didn't listen to our comments on how damaging all the cows are on the mountain because they're emitting methane gas.
We heard that in the meeting.
Yeah.
You know, the grazers are the best environmentalists, and they will continue to do that in their grazing practices, and we just need to make sure that message is taken out. I mean, none of the grazers that graze on this mountain are there to overgraze, and they work closely with Forest Service and the Mary O'Briens that go on the mountain, and you know, it's something we're gonna have to deal with, and they're becoming harder to deal with, but we're not gonna quit.
I could say more, but I won't.
That really, you know, that really gets us stirred up. I mean, you know, if you want to get in the back room somewhere, we can really go on that one for a while. So
Yeah, I thought we might all be on the same page on that one.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. We're almost out of time. We wanted to keep this limited to an hour. So let me ask you this one. Does the county have an emergency preparedness plan?
yes,
Yes.
yeah. Bill Toffer,
Yeah,
Yep.
go ahead.
Yeah.
You
I
said
have
on
some
that
stuff
committee.
too, yeah.
Bill Toffer is the emergency director in the county under Sheriff Curtis. That emergency management plan has been in development phase for years with trying to be able to, I mean, set up what it would need to happen in it to handle any kind of different kinds of emergencies that happen. So there's a whole plan out there to handle any kind of emergency that may fall into our county. So it's
One thing that we have done, we used some of our COVID money to purchase 2 large generators. One's located at the sheriff's office, the other one's located at the fairgrounds. When the motel burnt down here last couple of winters ago, why we went, where are we gonna put these people tonight? So we took them to the fairgrounds. What happens if it was a situation where there was a power outage? So we've spent some funding and we have now a huge generator that will run the entire jail, which they had one, but it was getting antiquated, and with all the updates and more power that they use nowadays, wouldn't be able to carry the full load. So now it will, and the generator at the fairgrounds is large enough to run the entire facility any time of day.
Can I ask a question?
yes.
That was my question. So a couple years ago, Sheriff Curtis and Bill
Yes.
came to all of the bishops and the emergency preparedness people, which is me and my husband first.
Right.
hey? And they had us they said that they were gonna bring totes with supplies for each ward to have, because, I mean, whether you're a member or not, the church is pretty organized about getting that stuff out. So they had us and we spent hours and hours, my husband and I, knowing everybody in our ward, exactly where everybody lives, making a map, and then it just dropped. We haven't heard anything more about it, nothing. So where's that? Did they not get the funding, or are we still supposed to be continuing with this?
Let us ask Bill that question. I
Okay,
think it's a valid question. There's a plan in place, but maybe there's some follow-up that needs to happen now.
yeah, cause they had us survey out, like Newell and I surveyed
Right.
everybody in our ward.
Yeah.
Who medically would need power, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
They said, we're gonna provide you with signs for all of your ward to put in the window.
I can remember when we
Were
went
you
to that.
there? I can't
Yeah,
remember. It was a
and
few
so
years
the
ago.
different colored signs in your window would
Yeah,
say
you
you were
put a red
okay,
if you
or
need
you would
stuff.
needed help, or,
Yeah, and then,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden, yeah, we did it. We worked really hard, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it just dropped. So I'm
If
wondering
it's
if the
dropped, let
county
us,
is still working on that or what?
good question. Yeah.
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 We're over the state, and we
Yeah.
like to kind of
Yeah.
get it going again, of course.
Yeah.
They still have an active ham radio group, and they test once a week, and all the bishops have a radio, and they're invited to get on. And I was when I was the bishop, and they would test every or twice a month. You get on and everybody would talk and report. And
Actually, the sheriff's department is.
Yep.
We were repeating that.
You know, maybe we because we get prepared to a certain state, we become a little bit, all of a sudden we think we're okay, but maybe you've raised a question we need to just ask where we're at.
Well, I
now.
don't think we can count on FEMA.
No, well, and, North Carolina,
Yeah,
I mean, West North Carolina, who would have thought they would have been
Hardest
affected
hit.
by,
yeah.
and
Yep.
I mean, we've had things in the state of Utah,
Yeah.
we're on a halt.
I love-
We need to be prepared.
I love that we're so prepared, but when the bee things fell over, no one knew what to do with the bees.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought,
It's,
whoa.
it's a really good question. Let us follow up on that one.
And I talked with
Okay.
Sheriff today too, that he said that Bill is, one of his charges, it's
Okay,
updated all the time, and it's going through an update right now. Whether it's a freeway accident, a special event, I don't know if you remember exactly a year ago this week, we had the eclipse. We had no idea, were we gonna have 10,000 or 100,000 people show up? And so it was actually a great opportunity for them to kind of interact and start, and have the kind of a dry run. And then, I don't know if you remember, it's been about 6 weeks ago, there was a lithium battery that fell off on a California freeway. Did you guys all realize, and it burnt the freeway down, that its brother fell off right here by Flying J, right across, right here, right in town, on the north end of our town. It did not catch on fire. And it literally, we were that close to having this really, but the sheriff's department is dealing with those types of things, and they're able to take care of those. The other thing that Nate had shared with me today was there's a succession plan in this emergency plan. Let's say, we're down to do something and the three of us are gone and Nate's somewhere else, who's in charge at what point and who calls? And so that is also in place. So the whole plan there is a plan. Nate says some of it is not published. Part of it is published, so there's some protective there so that, it can work,
Right,
if
but
things
people
are gone.
need to know what-
Yeah.
Where
So,
to go.
love your
because
question.
There's only so many sheriffs that can.
right.
right.
We shouldn't be totally relying on the government to take care of us
Right.
in these
Correct,
cases. They
correct,
can support us.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to know where we are by ourselves.
Do you have Bill's number? Bill
I-
Toffer? If you didn't, we'd make sure you had it too then. So.
Yeah.
I have a question. I took some notes to contact them.
Yep.
Where's that plan published at? Emergency response plan?
That's, I asked Nate and he wasn't able to give me that answer. It was a question I had also, Ed, and so I'll find out for you.
The plan's not any good if nobody knows where it is.
Right.
or how
Yeah,
to
he
do
said
it.
there's kind of an outline of it somewhere. And I wasn't able to find that before this meeting, but I will do that for you.
But like Scott says, a lot of things confidential for a reason.
Agreed. Yeah. But as, the church and other organizations have emergency preparedness
That-
people, if they
right.
know what the county has to offer and then we can all work together and support one another.
Yeah, absolutely, you're correct, 100%. And I think we see that in these little communities that as we work together when these events happen, we can do a lot of things.
Because I would say 99.9% of the people in our county want to help each other and
Right.
would help each other
And have resources to help
and
too.
have resources.
Yeah.
But if there's not any organization,
It can get
then
muddled up.
it's just gonna not work.
They're
Thank
well
you.
organized.
Well, commissioners, our last question is, what do you like most about being a commissioner?
Well, Greg, go ahead.
I actually wrote down, and now tonight, I think it confirmed it. I wrote interacting with public.
Yeah.
I really do. Sometimes it can put you on the spot, and sometimes, you end up finding someone that you have to disagree with. You can still be friends and move forward with that. But I think that part I have absolutely enjoyed.
Yeah, I would echo that 100%. Working with people brings it's a great thing to do. It's just really being able to affect people's lives and have that interconnection, among us, among the residents of the county. Every time we pray and open our commission meetings, we pray that our decisions will be for the benefit of the residents of our county. And as we get to know them better, it's just good. I had a real long answer too. I won't bore you with that one, but I'm going to use a couple examples. But we just enjoy the association with people.
I could talk for a long time for 8 years of experiences, but two things that really come to light is I sit on the CIB board, and to bless the lives of these small communities in rural Utah, not just Sevier County, I'm talking millions of dollars. A couple of weeks ago, we brought, between Sevier and Wayne, we brought home $13 million for these communities. The Ridgefield Pool got funded. And that's been a real battle. And as I was visiting with some of the members of CIB board before the meeting, two of them said, the pool's not gonna fly. I was trying to tell them all the positive reasons why it needed to, and they said, it's not gonna fly. When it come down to the vote, every one of them voted for it. So it's just been a neat thing to bless lives of rural Utah with that. But the most choice experience I had, Kath and I was invited to, what do you call it? I don't know what you'd call it, but it was up at the Fremont Indian State Park. Any of you remember how that started? When they were building the freeway, they found some remains of Indians. There was 10 of them, and the states had them all these years. But the tribe finally got them back. And they were in little white linen sacks. And they dug a huge deep hole up by the park, and they had an Indian chief with all of his headgear and dress on with feathers, and they had a long program, and it was very symbolic. They had smoke, they had the tobacco, and they had the eagle feathers, and this old Indian buck would pray, and then the others would take each one down and place it so tenderly, and then it had to be covered completely with sand, so everybody there was participating. And I asked them what the significance of the smoke and the tobacco, and they said it keeps the evil spirits away. And then they had some singing, and it was just such a precious, touching moment to be involved with all 10 of those that have been there. It was really, really a touching experience, a choice one that I'll never forget.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. It's not easy doing these jobs, and it's really not part-time either. These are full-time jobs, day and night, and we see what you're doing, and we appreciate all of the sacrifice that you and your families make to do these jobs. So let's give our commissioners a round of applause.
Thank you.